Alright, so for my next project I'm going to make a Flying Aces plane. Now here's my Flying Aces moth. Okay, it's a 24-inch wingspan. Alright, I made this about 25 years ago, and I haven't flown it for about 10 years because it really just ended up in the trees most of the time. You can see there's still tree damage on it, and I added a thermalizer on this, but the field was just too small. Alright. The other thing is I like to get around 30 inches because you got to carry the extra weight of the equipment, and I just think that's a better wingspan for that load. So I was looking around at Penn Valley, alright, and I found this. It's the Flying Aces Sky Gull. It's a lot like the moth, alright, but it's a 30-inch wingspan. Now, two things struck me about this. One is just the width of the wing here. I mean, the Black Bullet and the Pacific Ace have a 4¼ inch width. My Hell's Kitchen P30 has 4.5. I made it pretty big. And this has 4.5 by 30, so it's got a really big wing. The other thing that struck me is the prop. All right, it's got a 12¾ inch prop. I mean, that's huge for a 30-inch span. The biggest I've used so far is a 12-inch, which is the Hurricane, which is like 31¾ So this is a gigantic prop, so I'm interested to see how this goes. All right. I'll probably pretty much make it straight out from the kit. I'll show you the kit. I'm going to put a top spar on, as I mentioned before. This has an 1/8 square and then 3/32 square. I'll probably make this one an 1/8 too. The only other thing I'm thinking about is, to be honest with you, I hate when they put the multiple landing gear and then you have to bind it. It's just too stiff, all right? You're always better off just with having plain, simple wire landing gear. You can actually see in some of my videos the gear are really bending if it hits a little hard, and that, that acts like a shock absorber. So I think that's really, really important, okay? So here I got the kit from Penn Valley Hobby. Here it is, all right? Really nice kit. I'm really happy with this kit. So just to show you a little bit, we got, well, here's the tissue. I'm not going to use that. It's nice that they give you this big assortment of strip wood, because this has a whole bunch of different sizes, 3/32, an 1/8, a 1/16, and they're all in here. And I thought, well, I'll have to replace some, but just going through it, they all look usable. They all look pretty nice, all right? Then here's all the print wood, okay? I have to say, one thing I like about the print wood is you can totally sand off the numbers in the print. It comes off real easy. On laser cut, you can't do that because it's kind of burned in there, all right? Also got the nose block. It has hardwood wheels, but those are too heavy. I'm probably just going to use balsa wheels. And then for the prop, it uses an RN kit, all right? It says 13-inch, but it actually comes out to about 12 3/4. Now, I've made many of these, and I actually have a few of these on top of the ones in the kit. If you look at my corded to thermalizer video, I showed you how to make a nice 18-inch folder prop out of their 16-inch freewheeler, all right? So I already made one just because I like to get going on the props right away. So just to show you, here it is. It makes a really nice prop. For this one, I use the Lanzo shape. It's a nice symmetrical shape, okay? And the wood was pretty hard, so I just put a couple coats of dope on it, and that's it, all right? So we're going to get building. I'm kind of excited about this. I think this should be a good flyer. It's got good wing area, huge prop. So this is going to be interesting, and we'll get down to work. All right, so we're working on the Sky Gull cabin, okay? Now, for the cabin here, basically this is an 1/8 inch square, this is an 1/8 inch square, this is an 1/8 inch square. I also made this an 1/8 inch square just to, make sure it's nice and strong. Now for the rest of them, the plan shows 3/32 square, but the kit actually provides 3/32 by an 1/8. Now the only problem is that these were way too soft, all right? The rest of the strip wood was fine, but these were way too soft, so I couldn't use them. So I ended up using 3/32 square, okay? The only thing you have to remember to do as you put them in is you put like this, a little shim. This is a 32nd sheet shim under it. You see I still have a few left, to make sure it's nice and flush with the surface, all right? Now the other thing I did is, since I like to use really, medium to hard longerons there, make sure it's nice and strong, it has a lot of bend on the bottom. So here I had an old stab form, and I just used that. I soaked it and just, let it dry, and that pretty much gets the bend in it, and this way you don't have any stress on any of the cabin, okay? Takes the shape nice, all right? So now we're going to do my usual thing, which is take it off the plan, flip it over, put some saran wrap on it, build the other side, and we'll get going on that. Alright, so we're working on a Sky Gull, and here I, kept the nose button low again, so it has plenty of room for down thrust here. I like to put little bolts on the sides. Now the wheels, instead of the two as shown on the plan, I just did the single, because it's just lighter and stronger, and it's removable. Okay. Now the main different thing I did different here is the compartment here. I usually put it on the top here, but it was a little tight, and it has a very low belly, so I put it on the bottom, okay, instead. And I'll show you how that works in a minute. You can see I've made some holes here, and that's because the altimeter is in there and it has to read the air pressure, so you want to make sure, you know, you get the correct readings. And the dope polyspan light is pretty porous, so it's not a problem. All right, I'll put the wing hold down things in later after I make the wing. Now I moved the rear peg back about over an inch there actually, because I could make it back there with my half tube. Okay, so this way I can put a nice long motor in. All right. Now let me show you, let's see, here's the rudder. Okay, so that's pretty much done, ready to go. Just have to put the push rod on it. And here's the stab. And the only thing I did different here is I made a little center so the rudder slips in there, kind of like you do on the Comet Pepper. I really like the way it worked. Okay, it's aligned and it's stable and it's just really nice. So I made it that way. All right, so let me show you how I did this. Okay. So here what I did, you can see this little hold down for the landing gear, and I basically did the same thing with this compartment, all right? So what it does, it has a little hold down here. I'm just going to slide that out of the way, and I actually needed this little pole because it's in there pretty tight. There we go, get it open. All right, hold on. There you go. And you can see it has a little tongue in the back, and that slips in there, and then this goes here, and you put the hold down. So this way you don't need rubber bands or anything like that. Alright, so that's where I'm going to put the equipment. I also usually put a little foam rubber in there as well. Alright, just to help cushion it. So now I have to get to work on the wing. Now the only thing I'm doing different here is, you can see they're pretty big wing tips. And it's a 16th, you know, balsa, but I've actually had that warp before sometimes. So I didn't want to take any chances, and I just made laminated tips. This way they're nice and stiff and strong. Alright. I cut out all the ribs, and now I'm not going to use the big bottom spar. I'm going to use, you know, a 3/32 square. So what I did is I notched it, and I put those on there, and then I kind of lined it up. I just sand the ends a little bit, make sure it's nice and even, then it goes together really true and nice and easy as well. And then later I'll notch it for a top spar. Okay? So I'm going to get working on the wing, and we'll be ready to go. Okay, so I forgot to mention that another thing I changed was, this was a 16th square on the original, but I made it 3/32 square. And the other thing is they were kind of closely spaced, and I sort of moved them apart a little bit because it gives it a nicer, rounder kind of shape. Okay, the other thing I did is I added some cross diagonals here. And you see them here, and these are a 16th by 3/32, and that's just because, you know, it felt a little twisty to me. I mean, of course when you cover it in dope, it strengthens it a little bit, but I like to have that pretty stiff. You don't want anything twisting under full winds, okay? And you'd be amazed. You put those in, and boy, it makes a huge difference. So try twisting it by hand before, and then put them in after, and you'll see. It's incredible how much it strengthens it. So it's very little weight. I think it's really worthwhile. All right? So we're going to get on to the wing. Alright, so I just want to briefly mention here that, you know, because of the shape of the rib, okay, I had to shim both the rear and the front again. So the rear I shifted about a 32nd, so the trailing edge stays in with the airfoil. And the front I actually had to shift, you know, shim about 3/32, okay, because it curves up a bit here on the bottom. And that way it's centered, alright. Now for the wingtip, I didn't use the S2 rib because obviously I changed the wingtip, so I just made my own that fits in there and works nice, okay? So we're going to get the wing done and move on to the rest. Alright, it's been a while, but we're finally ready to cover. Okay, I got the wing done there. I put the tail skid on, you can see that in the back, and you can see I like to make that nice and strong, okay? One thing I changed is I originally made the wheel wire out of a 16th, but I changed to .047, and that actually saves about 3 grams, so I'm trying to save some weight here if I can. And we got the nose pretty much ready to go, and I'm not sure you can see it. Again, I used the safety pin, okay, for the free wheel. The other thing is I have the sides ready here for the wing mounts. I'm just going to use toothpicks to slip in there, but I cover the sides first, and then I put those in later, and then I cover the top. That way it comes out nice and smooth. Okay, so I'm going to use a 1/3 mil Mylar again for the wing and the 1/4 mil for the stab and rudder, and then we'll use polyspan for the fuselage, and we'll be ready to go. Alright, the Sky Gull. It's been about a month. I've been slowly covering, but it's finally done. Now this is another color from the Just for Flowers series. It's called Tiger Lily, and it's very transparent. I was a little worried the color wouldn't show up, but I think it's okay. I put on about 2 coats, and I'm just going to leave it at that. I think it's alright. Okay? So the total weight was 66.9 grams without equipment. With the equipment, it was about 75.4 grams, okay? So it's about 10 grams lighter than the Hurricane, and you know, it's got a nice wide wing here. I'm looking forward to giving it a shot. Now, I don't know if you can see it, but I used the safety pin on the nose again, okay? And I also made 3 props. So they range in weight from 5.5 grams to about 7.1. So if I need nose weight, you know, I can increase it by 1.5 grams by using the heaviest prop. Right now I got the 5.5 gram prop on there, the lightest one, because, you know, I think if anything I'll probably have to add tail weight, okay? So we're pretty much ready to go here, and I'm really anxious to see how this performs with, you know, nice wide wing and a nice big prop. Seems like it should be a good flyer. Alright, but we're going to get out and give it a go. 200 hand winds, here we go. Not bad. Nice. Nice. $300 hand winds. Here we go. Not bad. Nice. All right. All right, here we go. Alright, kind of tight turn there at the first, but good altitude.
nice, very nice. Plane flies nice. Beautiful.